We had geo units that swings, that throws, that stands, that blooms, that tanks, that wrecks, that buffs. Now after waiting for 2 years, we now have a geo unit that blasts.
Navia, the first 5-star female geo unit and the leader of the Spina di Rosul. The woman with a past, with her delicate emotions masked. If anyone goes too fast and make her feel harassed, you'll be masked. With a 100% chance of a downcast. Alright, elemental skill, Krieg. Remember Crystallize? Yeah. Remember seeing this? Yeah, that's what it looks like, by the way. Whenever Navia picks that up, she slots that crystal right into her shotgun umbrella and gains 1 bullet stack, which looks like a pistol bullet for the first 3, but when you get an additional 3 more stacks, damn, mama's packing. So what does it do? Normally, without any bullet stacks, Navia only fires 5 shots. With the 3 bullet stacks, the number of shots fired increases to 11. So the more bullets a singular enemy takes, the more damage you deal. And when one enemy takes all 11 bullets, you double the damage. And the max bullet Navia can hold is 6, but the bullets after the first 3 doesn't increase the number of shots anymore. It just increases the damage for an additional 15% for each bullet. I do think it's a little weird they didn't show how much damage each shot deals, but I think this is the game's way of saying, don't think, just shoot. Elemental Burst. On the orders of the president of Spina di Rosul, call for a magnificent Dorada salute. The salute is a preemptive celebration of the successful conclusion of our negotiations and is fired just before the talks begin. What? Wait, so you celebrate the conclusion of a negotiation before the negotiation even begins? Wait, don't misunderstand. It isn't in any way, shape, or form some kind of threat. Navia starts bombarding enemies in front of her, then periodically the cannons will continue to provide fire support for the next 12 seconds, with each hit providing Navia with bullets. Passive talents. Glucose Muscle. After using her elemental skill, Navia starts to activate her saved up glucose, swinging her arms and letting the enemy know that surviving her elemental skill is a crime, increasing her normal charge and plunge attack by 40% with Geo Conversion as a bonus. I don't like my element. Navia gains 20% increased attack that can stack up to 2 times with each Pyro, Electro, Cryo, and Hydro unit in the team. This doesn't mean you need variety either, as they can be in the same element as long as they're in that category. So for example, 2 Pyro units in the team will still provide Navia with the 2 stacks. Spina di Rosul Funds. Navia gains 25% more rewards for Fontaine expeditions. But they definitely owe her more than that. Weapons. We now have an axe. Everyone saw it, everyone was hyped for it, including me. Man, this lady having an axe for a best in slot? Absolute riot. This axe provides more attack, this axe provides more crit, this axe provides more drip. Definitely her best in slot. However, since the ability is specific for Navia's playstyle, I recommend pulling for this weapon if you're really into her. And everyone's into her. However, the weapon banner features multiple powerful weapons, so even if you lose the 50-50, you won't really lose. But you'll still feel like you lost the world. So let's look at some other options. The Wolf's Gravestone is always great for the team. The Skyward Atlas can be quite versatile with its damage, but out of the standard 5-star weapons, I recommend the Unforged. Not only does it fit with her drip, it scales on attack and your shield availability, granting Navia the power to change the biological structure of her enemies. There are also various 4-star weapons that can be just as powerful as the 5-star weapons, if not stronger. The best example is Serpent Spine, the weapon that cowers behind a locked doors that can only be opened with your credit card. It provides stacks that increases your crit and attack as long as you don't take damage, which Navia may excel in thanks to her element doing only one thing. All in all, it provides similar benefits as the axe, with slightly less damage, and thanks to capitalism, at max refinement, it should feel almost the same. Sacrificial is also a great option for Navia as it provides energy and granting Navia to reset her elemental skill. Now her damage is lowered compared to some of the other 4-star weapons, but thanks to the chance of letting Navia shoot 3 times, it makes sure that anyone foolish enough to get in Navia's way goes away. I recommend having this weapon at high refinement, because from my personal experience with RNG, made me hate RNG. There's also the Blackcliff weapons that you trade for your broken dreams of failed summons, providing crit damage and attack buffs, but do note this weapon's limits are based on the number of enemies you defeated, so I recommend saving your crushed dreams on something else. Another weapon that cowers behind the doors of capitalism is the Talking Stick. unlike the Serpent Spine, it provides more buffs to Navia the more elements she's bombarded with. But since the ability's focus is based on what the enemy does to you, I still recommend this door. Another drip limited weapon I recommend is the Beacon of the Raid Sea. It provides substantial increase to her attack and crit rate, with the only issue being her element, which constantly creates shields that may get in the way of the weapon's ability consistency. But to be fair, they're not that powerful. Almost non-existent, so I think you're relatively fine. Lastly, there is the free-to-play weapon for the current event, with an amazing ability that requires you to complete content, so have fun! But do remember, this is a limited 4-star weapon, so please, if you are gonna save with a plan to pull for Navia later, make sure to get this weapon, because this technically is the best free-to-play option. Artifacts. For artifacts, you do want to get the new artifact set that was released with her. Nighttime Whispers in the Echoing Woods. The 2-piece set providing you with attack, and the 4-piece set bringing you the 20% geo damage bonus after using your Alto skill, and if you have a crystallized shield on you, the above effect increases by 150%. This doesn't mean they're adding 150% on the 20% geo damage bonus. That is a crazy number. What they're doing is adding 150% of the 20% geo damage bonus, which means you'll get around 35% geo damage bonus. But since this is a new artifact set, and if you want to invest in your Navia as soon as possible, then you can also use the wow, I sound like I have a stroke reading this. You can use
Marechaussee,
which provides the normal and charge attack increase, and the 4-piece set provides crit rate depending on whether your HP goes up and down. You can also use the Golden Troop set as it boosts your elemental skill to a decent margin. The only downside is Navia wouldn't be able to fully utilize the 4-piece set effect because her kit simply doesn't work off-field. If you don't have any of the following artifacts, then you're going to have to use the 2-piece Archaic and any attack percent set, and there's so many nowadays, so this should be quite easy. In terms of stats, for primary stats, you want attack for Hourglass, geo damage for Goblet, and crit for Circlet. Wow, I haven't said that line since the Ningguang video. This brings the most damage to Navia, and if you are worried about energy consistency, we can worry about that in substats. Now, Navia's burst isn't the most mandatory thing in the world, but it still provides Navia with stacks with decent fire support. So I would mostly worry about crits, and then you can choose between attack or energy recharge, depending on your weapon choice and team choice, which we'll be talking about right now. Teams. Because Navia utilizes her crystallized reaction for her damage output, she is much more flexible in terms of team choices compared to most Geo units in the game. That being said, I would recommend you to utilize your Geo Resonance and add another Geo unit to the team. Personally, I recommend 3 units: Zhongli, Ningguang, or Albedo. Zhongli is pretty simple. He provides a powerful shield that lowers the enemy's resistance, and provides massive AoE crowd control. Albedo's pretty simple, providing Bloom and Geo application to enemies for Crystallize, and some Elto Mastery for technical increase to your shield durability. And lastly, Ningguang provides a Jade Screen that blocks incoming projectiles and buffs your geo damage a bit when you pass by. Also with Constellation 2, you can spam your screen for more energy, and also she is a catalyst, which means you can give her the thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers and provide Navia with massive attack boost. And all 3 of these geo units have an energy cost of 40, almost making their ability spammable as long as you have Geo Resonance. Personally, I go with the best girl. Now let's talk about her flexibility with different elements in the team. The best element, Resonance, to utilize for Navia other than Geo Resonance is Pyro, which increases her attack. And wow, surprise surprise, who would have thought? Personally though, I don't use Shangling and Bennett that often, so using them was kind of a breath of fresh air for me. Shangling was constantly providing pyro application for Navia so she can crystallize, and some attack buff from Golba really helped. You had this entire video. And lastly, Bennett. A pretty simple character that provides you high attack buffs and heals. Other teammates that Navia can utilize is Furina, but personally I had a difficult time trying to utilize Furina in a Navia team, because of Furina's fanfare stacks and draining. Since Furina also needs high energy, when making a team with Furina, you do have to give up a lot of things. Unless you have a Charlotte, or Kokomi. Characters I can technically utilize to increase Navia's damage would be Mika with some healing and a bit of damage boost, Sara for some attack buffs, Raiden for some extra damage and energy recharge, but at the end of the day, you do have to give up something in order to put them into your team. So what I would recommend is wait a bit and see what happens in the future when new characters are released. Navia's constellations are definitely more powerful and definitely makes your day easier. With Constellation 1, bullets providing Navia with energy and cooldown reduction. Constellation 2, increasing her crit rate and more damage from her elemental burst. Constellation 4, probably not as worth it compared to the other constellations, but does help by reducing the enemy's geo resistance by 20%. And lastly, Constellation 6, more crit damage and infinite bullets. In the end, I would say Navia is a pretty well-balanced Geo character and definitely worth pulling and definitely a lot of fun to play. So good luck on your summons, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.